Miriam Pierre-Louis here with an overview on social media for genealogists. The best place to start is to take a look at where we came from and where we are now in terms of media. I think it's very helpful to understand the transition, and it'll also help us to appreciate how good we have it now. So back in the day, depending on how old you are, you may remember that these were the three main points of focus for your life: the television, the daily newspaper, and the radio. And these were the ways that we got the news. And these were the ways the companies were able to advertise and reach out to us. Television, we had television programs with advertisements in between. We had newspapers, magazines, and books. And then, of course, we had radio shows, music and sports and talk radio. If a company wanted to target you, to reach out to you through advertising, they would either have to spend money purchasing television ads in order to reach a target audience, or they would have to buy print ads in newspapers, magazines, or books, or they would have to buy audio spots on the radio. And the thing about this is that these were very broad audiences. There weren't focused niches like you can reach today. Television ads are going to reach a pretty broad geographic area. Same with radio. Print, like newspapers, magazines, that could be national. You could have newspapers that could reach nationally, or they could be regional. But there was no super niche. The magazines, of course, you could get a magazine like Everton's Genealogical Helper and focus in on a target audience. But it was much harder to reach a specific targeted audience than it is today. But what happened was we had this shift with the internet. And this was incredible because now regular people are empowered to reach out to audiences themselves. They don't have to buy expensive spots on TV or radio. Now TV is being replaced by YouTube. Individuals can generate YouTube videos, and anyone who has internet access, anyone in the world can watch those. Radio has been replaced by podcasting. I wouldn't say it has been replaced by podcasting, but podcasting is now an option for the individual person to give their own voice and spread that out across the world, because anybody can access podcasts through iTunes or other podcast players. Newspapers have lost ground to blogs, Facebook, Google+, even Twitter. Twitter is a great source of news. And magazines, they are being replaced by many of the same channels with the addition of Instagram and Pinterest. Old media was much slower delivery. When you had television, you would have to wait to a specific time to see a show, and the advertising that you purchase would be for that specific show, whereas now so much of television is on demand in the form of Netflix and using tools such as Hulu and things like that. The problem with old media is that there was also much higher cost. Purchasing television ads is very expensive. Purchasing radio spots and print advertisements, just a single page print advertisement, runs in the thousands. Even today, it runs in the thousands. It's not very effective. And for that reason, old media was out of range for solopreneurs, for small businesses. It was really the venue of large corporations that had big budgets, and they could spend a lot of money advertising and building a brand, whereas individual genealogists who are small businesses, solopreneurs, they just wouldn't have the budget for that kind of thing. But now with social media, the playing field has been flattened and everybody has the opportunity. They are only limited by their creativity, their ability to learn, and the time they have to produce content. New media, on the other hand, new media being all these social media channels and blogs and dynamic websites, all this, new medias allow for quicker delivery and much lower costs. In much of the cases, New media is free. It doesn't cost anything to get a Facebook account or a Twitter account or a Google Plus account, but there are, in fact, costs associated with it. Your time is a cost. You may need to take classes to learn how to use these programs. With video, like channels like YouTube and podcasting, you might want to buy higher quality equipment so that your production is better. So there are costs associated with it, but it's up to you as to what your entry level is going to be, because you do have a free entry level, and that is a complete shift from when only the companies with the biggest budgets could take advantage of old media and get their message and their brand out there. So let's take a look at social media channels. We're going to look at the personalities of the social media channels, give you a sense of what's happening on them and who you'll find there. So Facebook is a community channel. This is the water cooler of the office. This is where everybody goes to catch up on the news, to chat with people, to share family pictures. That's why Facebook is so large, because of this ability to build community. Twitter, on the other hand, is a completely different personality. A lot of people who are very comfortable on Facebook just don't get Twitter. But Twitter is awesome if you can figure out how it works. And I strongly suggest that you try. Twitter's all about immediacy. So if I want to know something that's happening, say I hear sirens in my local town, and I'm saying to myself, wow, I wonder what's going on. I can go onto Twitter and find the news there before I can find it anywhere else, because it's the most immediate social media channel. It's also really good for conferences. So if you go to genealogy conferences, you can use Twitter in real time. So you'll find some people tweeting about a talk that they're currently watching, or say you want to meet somebody out in front of a talk before it starts, or you want to meet some people for dinner, you can do that. But Twitter's all about real time, and for that reason, it's a really great conference tool. And it's also about sharing information. So you're not going to do long-form content like you can on Facebook, where you can write a paragraph. Twitter, it's 140 characters, and the key thing is it's that it's linking you to other information. So you want to scan Twitter, and if you see something of interest, well, then you're going to click on through and find the content. Twitter is also a place for conversation, and you can meet people. You can actually build great relationships on Twitter and have conversations. Google Plus is Google's answer to Facebook. And a year or so ago, I would have been more enthusiastic about Google Plus. I am not as much anymore because of the way Google is dissecting it and breaking it apart from other Google properties. I still think that Google is an important place to be, merely because of its connection to Google, so that when you share content on Google Plus, you will have very high ranking in Google search, and that is extremely important. So if you post something there and somebody searches in Google and they're looking for what you have to offer, they will find it. And that is extremely, extremely important. And that findability is easy, unlike Facebook, which the search capability doesn't work very well at all on Facebook. And much of Facebook is on people's private walls, which is not public. So it's just not very effective. Whereas Google Plus, maybe everybody's not there, but it really ties into the Google search engine, and people will find your stuff better just because it's on Google Plus, even if people aren't interacting with the content. YouTube is a video channel, and it's really strong when it comes to how-tos. So the current generation, the kids who are in school right now or in college, the first place that they go is to YouTube when they need to know how to do something, which is a complete shift from how I grew up. And for this reason, YouTube is the number 2 search engine behind Google. YouTube is also known for entertainment. So if you have a bit of a playful streak or a little sense of humor, and you'd like to create videos that are a little bit more on the creative side, You can do that with YouTube, even with genealogy. Genealogy can be fun. Check out Lisa Louise Cook's Genealogy Gems channel. She's done some really fun things over there. And people who go to YouTube will appreciate that. They want to see the how-tos, but they also want to see the entertainment. So you can allow your creative side to flow when you're on YouTube. Now, that next icon underneath YouTube, that's the new logo for Instagram. And Instagram is a photo community, and it's all just photos. You can comment and do hashtags and things like that. The limitation to Instagram is they allow you only one link, and that's the link in your profile. And so you have one option to send people to your website or to one specific location. All the individual photos that you post, you cannot provide any links anywhere. You're just sharing photos. A year ago, Instagram was a growing community, but this year it has really taken off. Instagram is really hot now. Some really big communities have started growing on Instagram. There's a whole separate culture over there. It's definitely worth looking at, especially if you have visual content. So say that you are a genealogist who focuses on the old country, on one of the countries in Europe, and you happen to have the opportunity to go to Europe for a business trip or for a vacation. You take lots of pictures. That would be a perfect scenario where you would come onto Instagram and share those pictures and reinforce your brand and really entice people into learning more about that country through the photos that you're sharing on Instagram. Now, Pinterest is very visual as well, but in a slightly different way. Instagram can't link to anything, whereas Pinterest has these big, beautiful images, and it links back to the original content. So it's kind of like a discovery source like Twitter is, except it's not as rapid fire as Twitter. Pinterest is also one of the best search engines for finding stuff. So if you're looking for something to buy or something that you're interested in, Pinterest would be the way to go and search, even more so than Google. People are going specifically to Pinterest to find what they're looking for. The other reason Pinterest is very important is that it's the number one revenue driver for online sales. So if you're selling something, whether it's your services or maybe you're selling classes, video classes or books or whatever, Pinterest has a reputation for driving sales more than anything else does. And then the last one that we have there is LinkedIn. That is for professional networking. Now, don't go discounting LinkedIn. I'm using LinkedIn more and more these days. I find it less cluttered and less noisy. And when I post there, more people see it and can interact because it's not as crowded a place as Facebook is. And I think there's tremendous potential there. Now, if you are a genealogist who is doing forensic work, say you're doing air research work, that kind of thing, then you have to be on LinkedIn because your clients are LinkedIn. The lawyers, all the professionals are going to be there. They're not going to be on Facebook. Let's talk about the secrets to success. How do you make social media work for you when you're a small business? The first thing you need to do is to learn how to use the channels. And I mean mechanically, how do you learn to use the channels? How do you post on Facebook? How do you retweet something on Twitter? You need to learn how these things work. But it's not enough to do that. You have to keep going and learn best practices for each channel. You need to say, how am I going to use this tool so that I can achieve my goals? And it's those best practices that are going to help you do it. The secret to success is not a degree, and it's not a class. Though classes will help because they'll get you started. The secret to success is experimentation. Allow yourself to try different things. Open yourself up to all the possibilities. The most successful people on social media are the ones who are willing to experiment and keep trying different things. So try new things all the time. Go on to Facebook and post a link to a blog post. Post a photo, post a video, post a comment or a question. See what works and what doesn't work. And then based on what you discover, you're going to tweak your activity and change it. So if something fails miserably, don't do that anymore. Just stop. But if something works, keep doing that, but keep tweaking it to see if you can make it work better. And this is how you're really going to improve on social media. This is the number one thing that's going to push you forward. So it's not about writing a blog post and then sharing the link on social media. That's what I see a lot of people doing. Yes, that's what you got to do. But you have to take it the next step further, and you have to analyze what is happening. Are people liking that post? Are people sharing it? Are they commenting? And you need to really look and see how well things are doing. You can't just post and walk away and say, well, I've done the social media thing. It doesn't work that way. You have to pay attention, notice what works, and notice what doesn't work. Before diving into social media, I really want you to think and consider these things. What are you offering? Are you offering client research services? Are you offering public speaking services? Are you offering to go photograph somebody's gravestone? What is it that you're offering? What are you asking for? What is your niche? Do you know what your niche is? Is your niche based around a geographic area? Is it based around an ethnic group? Maybe you do Scandinavian research. You want to talk specifically to those people and make sure that they recognize that that's what you're offering. And then the next thing you need to consider is, who are you targeting? So if you are focused on Scandinavian ancestry, let's say that maybe your target clients come from Minnesota because there happen to be a lot of people over there with Scandinavian ancestry. So know who you're targeting. And then the last thing is, where are they online? That's where you need to be. Let's say you really like Twitter. You kind of groove with it. It's fun. It's your favorite social media. But your clients, they're over on Facebook. Well, you need to be where your clients are. Have fun on Twitter and be there on Twitter too. Be on as many channels as you want to be or can be, but really focus on understanding where your clients are and use that as your main target to make sure you're getting your message across and that people there know what you have to offer. In summary, I want you to strive for consistency. Pick one main channel, let's say Facebook, and get yourself a business page so that anybody can publicly view it, and then come up with a consistent strategy for how you're going to reach out to people with that platform. So are you going to post once a day, 4 times a day, 10 times a day, once a week? Whatever it is that you decide, stick with it and be consistent with it so people will expect that. The next thing I want you to do is to focus on the long-term results. You're not going to go onto social media and 2 weeks down the road say, oh, this isn't working for me. It doesn't work like that. You have to develop that pattern and that consistency and do it over a long period of time and let people have the chance to get to know you, and then you're going to see results. Now, many of these social media tools like Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, they have built-in analytics, so you can see how well you're doing. You can see how many people are interacting with your posts, and you can use those analytics to look at 6 months or a year and determine, well, how well am I doing? I hope that this social media overview, it's a very high-level overview. I hope this has been helpful to give you an idea of how we as genealogists can use social media. I do have 2 classes in my YouTube channel. They're both an hour long. One's called Starting from Scratch Twitter, and the other's Starting from Scratch Facebook. It starts from making an account to really getting you off the ground with both of those platforms. I'd also have you consider checking out the Genealogy Professional Podcast. I am the host of this podcast, and what I do is interview genealogists about their journey and the reality of what it is like to be a genealogy professional. Well, I hope to see you online on YouTube and all the other social media platforms. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, and I'd be happy to make some more videos for you to address them. See you later.